Sometimes the biggest and the best answers come in silence, they come in space, because our life has become so unnecessarily fast-paced. You're not competing with anyone. This is your own journey and your own race. And I think that the biggest thing has also just been learning to love myself as a woman and appreciating that my journey is not the same as everyone else, and it's okay for me to walk my own journey and forge my own path. Today, I'm so excited because it's going to be story time. I'm telling you about how I quit my job a few years ago without a plan. So I quit my job cold turkey with no plan B. And please, before we go any further, please don't quit your job. I always speak about the power of your current job to get you to the next level of your life and career. And I'm simply sharing my life experience. I know that our generation, social media, there's this crazy trend about quit your job, start a business. But I tell you, the journey is not a straight line. It's not easy. So just don't do it without thinking twice. Don't do it the way I did it, okay? So I'm just gonna get into story time, and my name is Lorraine. I'm so happy you're here. And remember, subscribe and also click the like button, because when you do that, it will be shown to more amazing women just like you. Are you ready? Buckle in. So a few years ago, I hit a brick wall. I just hit a ceiling. I just felt cornered and frustrated, and I felt as if my best was no longer enough. I'd been, working really hard, smashing all these goals. But I remember one day looking at my boss, and I just did not envy him. In the past, I was so ambitious. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder and get promoted quickly. But I remember one day, my boss was, having this rant, complaining about how head office was unfair, this and that. And I looked at him, and he was telling me about how it was even affecting his personal relationship at home. And I just did not want to be him. And I was like, okay, here I am. I'm working very hard to one day have this man's position, but I really do not envy how his life is going on. And if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to end up like that. Because at that time, I was doing a lot of overtime, and it was overtime unpaid work as well. So I was just at that point where I did not see any way out or plan B. So I went for a drive during that time, and I usually get these amazing downloads when I'm out driving. And I really felt a strong urge in my spirit to just drop everything, quit my job, and just create time and space within my life. So I quit my job. I moved away from Adelaide, which is my hometown now. And I was just traveling around the continent of Australia for like 2 to 3 years. And I remember I wanted to give 3 months notice. But this amazing manager of mine, she was like, listen, Lorraine, if you really feel this is the time for you to do this, don't worry about us. We're going to be fine. Take this time for yourself. Because my other manager, she had actually taken a similar journey when she was in her 20s. And during that time, I was 2 weeks before turning 28, and I was really, looking at the big picture of life. I was like, I don't want to settle down. I don't want to just get married, have kids before I've actually taken the time to know myself. So then I sold my car, left everything, totally downsized. And, that time I still had bills to pay. But working in healthcare, it's a very flexible career. You can work from anywhere. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to eat pasta and mince every day for as long as I need to, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to give myself the gift of freedom. So that was my journey of just quitting my job, cold turkey, no plan B. And I'm going to tell you what I actually learned through that journey. So the first lesson that I learned on this journey is that I am actually more than my job. I'm more than my career. And this was a big shock to me, because growing up, I always felt as if my sense of self-worth was tied to my job, my achievements, whatever I was doing. And week in, week out, because I'm always having conversations with millennial women, and they tell me that, I always feel useless if I'm not performing well at work, because that is where I find my value from. So for me, I realized that I'm actually not my job, even though initially I felt naked, because now I didn't didn't have a title, I didn't have this amazing car and this amazing office. You know, I was just me, I was just Lorraine with nothing, you know, happening. But I had to sit still and be okay and just be with myself even without the job. The second lesson I learned during that time was that growth happens when you stop. Sometimes the biggest and the best answers come in silence, they come in space, because our life has become so unnecessarily fast-paced. You're not competing with anyone. This is your own journey and your own race. And when I actually stopped to create space, magic started happening, because I started, you know, just having all this time to myself to reflect on what it is that I wanted to do. And I just want to say to you, if you're at a stage in your career where you're considering a career break, it might end up being the best decision of your life. Like, I look back now and I feel like in my life, I will not regret it, because I didn't just shut down that voice that was telling me that I needed to step back and just have all this space. It might end up being the best decision. And sometimes people say to me, oh, my LinkedIn is not going to look good because then there'll be a space, or my resume is going to have this space. But I kid you not, so many opportunities have opened up for me from that, just because that space actually caused me to catapult and grow, even though it seemed as if I was slowing down. I'm just gonna quickly put it in and say, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And if you're enjoying this episode, I want you to hit the like button so that more amazing people just like you can actually find this video. And if you're looking to up level in your career, be sure to register for my free workshop on how to get promoted quicker and get the free A-Z Playbook on how to actually go for the conversation with your manager. So the link is going to be in the description. Life's biggest joy is in the simple things, like just taking a walk, going for a run, smelling the flowers, sitting there and doing nothing. That's where you find life's biggest joy. The fourth important lesson was never stop learning and being curious. During this time, I became a child again. I met amazing new people. I discovered these beautiful places in Australia that I never knew existed. I remember one day bumping into this little haven in Queensland, and it's called Yeppoon, and I ended up staying in Yeppoon for so many months. It was the most refreshing time of my life. I forgot to say, I actually also went back to uni during that time because I discovered a love for philosophy and economics. So I went back to uni to study a Bachelor of Philosophy and Economics, and I really had a good time whilst I was doing it. The fifth thing was just realizing that it's okay not to have answers. When people ask me what I do or what I was doing, I'll just say, I don't know. You know how normally we always want to have an answer for people. We want to tell them, you know, what we are doing right and how we are succeeding. I just lost that part of my ego that needed that. Like when people asked me what I was doing, I was like, I don't know. And I became okay with not knowing. The sixth lesson was you can live on way less if you want to. So again, for me, it was selling my car, downsizing, living on the basics. I mean, you guys, I was wearing jeans and, you know, t-shirts, really basic. And I was happy with that basic. Even accommodation, you know, when I lived in Sydney, which is one of the most expensive cities to live in, I just wanted the experience of being in the middle of this big metropolitan noisy city, and I was sharing like an apartment with I think like 4 or 5 other people and we were sleeping on bunk beds, which is something that I haven't done ever since we were kids, because when we were kids we used to have a bunk bed at our house, and now as an adult here I was sleeping on a bunk bed again, and I was sleeping on the top bunk. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. So I taught myself to live on way less, because sometimes people are afraid of stopping because they think they can't afford it. But you actually can, because some of the luxuries that you think you can't do without, you can actually do without them. You have to give yourself permission to do what you need to do. Stop trying to make sense to others. For me, moving away, quitting my job did not make sense. So much so that when I quit my job, I only told one human being, you know, because I knew that, you know, he wasn't going to try and talk me out of it. He was just going to listen and be present to my experience. But I never told anyone. I didn't tell my sisters. I didn't tell my pastor. I only told them after I had done it because I didn't want anyone to talk me out of what I wanted to do. So if you're living your life just waiting for someone to give you permission to do what you need to do, permission is not coming. But here's your permission slip. I'm giving you permission to go do what's on your heart to do, even if it doesn't make sense. After going through this phase, I felt ready to come back home and be with my family and keep on advancing in my career. And I am so glad that I took that time for myself. How has my career changed after having that career break? I lead from a place of curiosity now, and I no longer feel afraid to create my dream life every day. Now I live my life with intention. I always try to just connect, ground with who I am as a person and make decisions with all my heart. Like, I've become that person that if I'm not passionate about something, I'm not going to do it, or I'm just going to do it for a short time. I need to be passionate about something in order for me to do it. I lead from a place of time freedom and money freedom. I am open to receiving opportunities, whether from other people or the companies that I work with, whereas in the past, I didn't feel deserving of all these good things. And I think that the biggest thing has also just been learning to love myself as a woman and appreciating that my journey is not the same as everyone else, and it's okay for me to walk my own journey and forge my own path. I'm curious, are you considering a career break, and how long do you think you need? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't done so, remember to subscribe, and also as a favor to me, please hit the like button. That way YouTube knows that this is good and they'll push this video to even more amazing people just like you. Lastly, if you're looking to advance in your career, please register for my free workshop on how to get promoted quicker and get the free A-Z Playbook on how to prepare for the conversation with your manager. My name is Lorraine. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next episode.